Hey, we're live. I'm Vic. See, look now, I'm all tongue-tied, and I still can't hear you. I'm Vic Myers. Welcome to the Resistance. I'm here with Victoria Broderick, and we are trying to suss out a technical issue because I can't hear her. And say
Can the
something
chat hear
again,
me?
Victoria.
Can you guys
Yeah,
hear
I
me?
can see the little green bars.
It's so weird.
When she talks, I can see the green bars on her mic. That tells us your mic is working, StreamYard's receiving the audio, then the issue is on my end and not yours.
It happens.
Click the gear icon and go to the audio tab and aha, under speakers, it's not seeing you. You're not showing up as a speaker.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's not working. Say something.
Hello? Hi?
Hey, I can hear you.
Can you hear me
still
now?
hear me?
Yay!
All
I can hear
right.
you. We good.
Seriously, every time I've gone to do anything live with a guest, there's always something new that crops up. So
Every time. I work in the tech industry. I get it. Troubleshoot all day long. That's all I do.
okay, we don't have any commenters. Oh, we got 10 people watching. Hey, there's Nick. All right, so I was like, you know what? I need to write out a bunch of smart questions for Victoria. And then I scrapped them all because I just want to have a conversation.
I love it. Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's have a whole conversation.
There you go. And I want you to know that in the last election cycle, of all the different candidates across the country that I was following and donating to, you were my favorite.
Oh, thank you. I will never forget when you tagged me in the video after you got my thank you note. I wrote something like 3,000 or 4,000 thank you notes during that time frame, and sometimes I would look for familiar names, but then you posted your video, and I was just like, oh, that makes my heart so happy. My Southern mother would be so proud, and it was inspiring because I'm just a working class mom who decided to run for Congress.
Yeah, well, you get all these emails and texts and stuff. Send me money, please. I'm so worthy. Send me money. But you and there was one other, Gendabine in New York in the specials. You guys were the only ones that sent postcards saying thanks. So,
and I wrote them the entire campaign. I even kept a list to see how many times people donated to me so that I could write them a new thank you every single time.
well, Tip O'Neill would be proud.
Yeah.
I don't know. You're much younger than I am, so I don't know if that reference means anything to you, but
it sounds like something I've heard before. I go along the underside.
All right. Tip O'Neill was the Speaker of the House during the Reagan years.
Okay.
And he was an incredibly popular and effective politician. And he wrote a book called All Politics is Local. And he talks in that book about how on his last campaign, he knew it was going to be his last campaign. And they're at the victory party. And they have, he's got one of his longest, most ardent supporters who had, rang doorbells for him and called people, did everything in all of his campaigns over the many years. And he said to her, well, did you vote for me? Just joking. And she said, no. He said, what do you mean, no? And she said, you didn't ask me to. And that was the lesson of that part of the book, was always ask for the vote.
It's true.
So, yeah.
If you shake a hand, you get a vote. If you write a thank you card, you get a new supporter.
There you go. So, as I told you when I reached out to you, one of the things I want to do is bring the whole idea of politics and campaigns to the people who watch and listen to my stuff so that they can understand that it's more regular people than it is what we see on TV, because TV portrays campaigns as all this fancy and highfalutin, and it's not that. And I was thinking, what would be good is Victoria, because
Absolutely.
the way I put it in the tags for the videos and stuff was, she's a run-of-the-mill American mom who's not willing to just leave her kid's future up to chance. Is that about right?
That's exactly right. And for me, it's very, very core to my run. So if those of you are just watching, and I don't know, Vic, if you've actually heard my little like stump speech. So how I got involved in politics, I've always been a little bit more political. Should have known it when I was 5 years old watching The West Wing. Politics is not like that. At least not anymore.
If only, right?
I know. I should have known then it was a sign. But always been a little political. But in 2021, things kind of took a turn and changed for me. At that point, I was just volunteering I'd volunteer on my first campaign, volunteer with the local community because we'd moved back from Texas to Tennessee. And I said, if I'm going to live in my high school hometown, I've got to bring change because local and state officials aren't representing this small town. But it all changed in 2021. I suffered an IUD fail. And over a probably 6-week, it was probably longer than that, but I spent a lot of time fighting with my doctor trying to like be seen, and found out I was pregnant. Obviously that was a shock. I had a 13-month-old running around. I had no intention of having a second baby at that time. And I apologize if you hear my foster kitten screaming in the background.
I got cats.
Yeah. And so I miscarried. We had to go through all the emotions of that, all the doctor's visits and what it would look like if the IUD pregnancy stuck. And I want to be very clear. It's like IUD pregnancies have a higher risk factor. It doesn't mean that you will have a high risk pregnancy. It just puts you at a higher risk. So it's kind of a Russian roulette of what it will look like. And yeah, I miscarried and I was like, hey, like all the emotions that go with that. And then a month later, I found out I was pregnant again. And, it was one of those moments where we had to figure out, because it wasn't the healthiest way to get pregnant. And here we were with this new being that was growing inside of me. And 9 months later, we gave birth to a perfectly healthy, cute little baby. We don't quite trust him because he's not supposed to be here, but he's the sweetest thing in the world. And 4 months after that, Roe was overturned. And I decided I couldn't stand by anymore. I couldn't be on the sidelines anymore. I can't hear you if you're talking to me. Did you get a cat? It says you're muted. Oh, no. Oh, poor Vic. Sorry, guys, if you hear, I'll tell the story of my foster kittens in a second because I have a lot of them. Or I only have 2 right now. Oh no, there we are. Technical difficulties, guys, it happens all the time. So hopefully you're out there. I don't know if we have any comments yet. So thanks for joining.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you.
Now, if only I could get you to see me. My camera's on and I can see it there. Well, my dog came in.
Oh no.
Yeah. One of the 5-month-old puppy who is now bigger than mommy. So if you on the left side of your screen, if you go up to and click on comments, it'll bring up the chat box so you can see people's comments.
Yeah.
Okay. Come on, camera. Nope. That's not it. Oh, there it is. Survey says not yet.
You do it?
There I am.
Yes.
Okay.
My
then.
husband's in the chat and he was like, pets almost always cause technical difficulties.
Yeah. He don't normally come in here, but today he's like, I'm going to go see what I could mess up.
Absolutely. You know, just doing the thing. I don't know what all you got to hear a part of that, but so in 2022, my youngest was born, and 4 months after he was born, Roe was overturned, and I decided that was it. I had to get involved. I had to speak out. I was livid. So I did the natural thing. I created a TikTok and started yelling at people on the internet about how to get involved with politics and why you should as the friendly neighborhood liberal. And that was just like a fun quip I had from Facebook, and it fell over, and I started introducing just a message from a friend, your friendly neighborhood liberal, and it just grew from there. I became county chair of one of the 93, at that time, 93 counties in Tennessee, and just really started getting involved and understanding how politics worked and what I needed to do, because I knew absolutely nothing when I got into it. I had no idea how the state party worked. I had no idea how a county party worked and what would go involved with it. And then in 2024, I was on a district-wide meeting and found out that my opponent, Scott Desjardins, was going to run unopposed. And I said, over my dead body. And over maybe some liquid courage and a weekend, I decided that I was going to pull a petition and just throw myself into a U.S. congressional campaign, having known nothing. And yeah, I ran a successful campaign. Even if I lost, the numbers actually came out in my favor, showing I grew the district. I did it while working full time. I have 2 tiny humans. I am a local foster with the Humane Society here. So I foster animals throughout the time. Normally I just foster cats. This last round, I had 7 fosters total, a mom and her 6 babies. And I have 4 fur babies of my own. So it was a big deal to step into this role. And
you hear that, voters? She's a multitasker.
I am a multitasker, and I'm not afraid of putting up a fight. I think, Vic, you've seen my spicy videos where I kind of go after people a little bit.
That's what I like about you, is you're not like the other candidates out there trying to be all polished and stuff. You're like, you know what? This guy's an asshole, and I don't mind telling you.
Exactly. And I mean, I'll do it nicely. I mean, I don't think that status quo is going to get us what we need anymore. No. You need regular working class people who want working class values seen and representation, because that's what's, we don't need to be talking about, what Trump did today and what stupid thing he posted on, True Social, as my friends call it, Temu Twitter. We need to be talking about policies. We need to be working together to solve real issues that are happening in your local areas and across the country. And yeah, I learned so much in 2024. And now I'm like, I lost. And I remember that night I'd already decided, while I was on a TikTok live, while everyone was heartbroken over it, I was like, I'm going to run again. I'm not going to stop, because we need representation. And you don't quit after the goal gets scored. You just pick yourself up and start moving again. I'm an athlete. Like, that's what you do. You pick up, you try again.
What was your favorite part of the campaign?
Oh my gosh. That is the people.
Do I still sound okay? Because I can't hear you.
Yeah, you sound great. You sound great. My favorite part of the campaign, the people I got to meet, the constituents I got to build relationships with. I got to meet you on TikTok, and like I got so much experience and so many connections and people who felt so connected to me. I remember I was at the Women's March in January, and a woman came up crying and she hugged me and she was like, thank you. And like that made it worth it. Like she sees representation happening, and I'm out there fighting the fight as a fun size and feral person, and it makes my heart warm. Like that makes it worth it. Like I know I'm making change, even with a loss. I'm speaking out and using my voice for the better.
What was your least favorite part of the campaign?
Fundraising. fundraising, learning
Yeah.
how much money is in politics. That was a hard thing. It was a hard thing to watch that money roll in. And yeah, because like I'm a working class mom. I make $50,000 a year. The fact that I was told that I should raise to run a successful campaign in my district, raise $3.5 million. I was like,
crazy, ain't it?
how are we supposed to do this? And then realizing that it's a part of it is to keep me out, is to keep working class people out, because
Exactly.
not everyone can quit their job, and I couldn't. So I worked full time. I managed the campaign full time, and I'm so thankful because my district really showed up for me when they realized how much effort I would put into it. They fed that back into me. They started working around my schedule. They would make it like so that I could just show up. Like it was, and the more I worked hard, the more that they were bought in. And
So-
when I said I was going to run again, they were like, done.
How big area wise is your district? Like
15 counties.
15. Yeah, but counties in Tennessee are a lot different than counties in Colorado.
That's true.
How long does it take to drive from one end to the other?
Depending on where I'm driving, it's about 2 to 3 hours in every direction, like 2 to 3 hours in every direction. So I'm at the bottom of my district, and so everything is out and to the side. And one of the gerrymandering things they did is they made it so that my district doesn't touch a single city. The biggest city in my district is Murfreesboro, Tennessee, which if anyone is wondering where that is, that was where the initial drag ban went through in Tennessee. So that's my district. And I partner with the Ruco Pride and Rutherford County Pride because I don't agree with the drag ban, but we found fun ways to get around it. And I love that for us.
So did you know I ran for Congress back in 2014?
I did not know that. I think maybe I'd heard it, but I've slept since then.
So it's in the district that Bimbo Bobert now represents. Yeah, that's how right wing it is. So I definitely feel your pain. I feel your pain. Sorry, sometimes I can't help myself.
I love it.
Yeah, but your district is heavily Republican registered. And do you find that, I mean, the campaign season hasn't got swinging yet, but do you think you're going to find more openness in this election than you did last time?
Yeah, I think I'm already seeing it. I was at a protest for No Hands. Was it No Hands? Or it might have been No King's Day. And I had a couple of Republicans approach me to talk about my campaign and run for office. And they were like, I've never voted for a Democrat before, but I want to vote for you. And that was a big deal for me to see them and see the pain in their eyes, realizing what was going to happen and knowing what they'd voted for. And I think it's only going to get more like that. That's only going to grow through the district. And, my district used to be blue or like purple because we had, up until 2008, Lincoln Davis was our representative. Granted, the district looked a lot different then, but it's still, that vibe is still here. We just have, we're number one in voter integrity, but 51st in turnout. So that tells me we have a voter suppression issue. It also tells, it also tells me that, I was like, and it also tells me that people just don't feel represented. So they don't I can't tell you how many times I have been out and people are like, you're a Democrat? Are you afraid? And I'm like, no, they're not scary. They're all bark and no bite. 93% of the time, all bark, no bite. And they're empowered to speak out. And I talk a lot about empowerment and getting people active in my speeches because I realize they don't know where to start. And if I make it as easy as possible, I say activism is a muscle. Just pick one thing and stretch that muscle, and you'll get more comfortable with time. And that's what I did. And I think people relate to that.
We've been talking for 20 minutes now, and we have yet to talk about where people can go to support your campaign.
That's true. So if you all want to support me, my campaign, you want merch, you want to donate, which is super important. So I was jokingly thinking this morning, you guys should donate combinations of 46, what is it? 86, 47. So 47 to, get rid of big dude. But yeah, Victoria 4, the number 4, Tennessee.org or .com. I would love for you guys to go check it out. You can find me on social media. I'm on all of them. I actually have a Substack where I'm writing articles. Yes, they are written by me. And yeah, I love just doing this. This is so much fun.
So do that, folks. I mean, I talk a lot in my videos about how to get involved, and people are constantly asking me, and I said that wrong. People are very frequently asking me, because I don't mind that they ask, what can we do? What can we do? Well, what you do is when you see a candidate like Victoria running in a red district, doing the work and representing real people, then you support that candidate. You don't send your money to the state party. You don't send your money to the national party. You send your money to candidates like Victoria. That's one of the things that you can do.
Exactly. It makes all the difference. I don't know if you know this, Vic. We raised over just right around 120,000. And for those of you who are wondering, I didn't get help from the national party or the state party. I did this through contacts, having the right people. And I raised almost 90% of my donations were small dollar donations. So that's $50 or less. And that's a huge thing to do. We had a very small team to make it happen, and we had a amazing volunteer. So volunteers, if you can't volunteer, you can if you can't donate, you can volunteer. You can come out and door knock, write postcards, make phone calls, do text messages, depending on what the candidate needs, or share all of our content, interact with it, comment on it, because that helps. It helps boost it. Because Vic, you probably know this, when you're running for Congress, you have to get a national platform. That's why, people think of AOC and what she did in her district. What she did was phenomenal for a young woman. And, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to shake up the system a little bit.
Yeah. And tell me if this happened to you. When I was running, well, first I called the state party and said, who's running against Cory Booker? Because he was the candidate at the time. He switched with Ken Buck. Anyway, that's beside the point. I said, who's running against Cory Booker? Nobody. I said, well, then I'm going to. They said, good luck. We're not going to help you. Exact words. And then as I got things rolling, I called up the Denver Post and I said, hey, I'm the only Democrat in the race to run against, by then it was Ken Buck. I said, and I was kind of hoping you guys might be interested in talking to me. And this is what the biggest newspaper in Colorado said. They said, how much money do you have in the bank?
Yep.
I says, well, I'm just getting started. And they're like, well, you're not a serious candidate if you don't have 100,000 in the bank right now.
Yep.
So we're not just fighting the party structure. We're also fighting the supposed to be fourth estate going out there and educating people. Yeah. That's why, like she said, sharing our social media stuff matters. It really does matter to comment and share and like and all that stuff, because that in this day and age, that's how the word gets out.
Yeah. And and it's a social commodity, I'm friends with this group getting money out of politics, and I really agree with it, because I feel like it would not look the way it does if there was not money in it. And, we had Mike Johnson on the floor basically saying that they needed a pay raise, and they make more than most Americans work. I don't know what the average income in the United States is, but 174,000 is a lot of money to a lot of people. It's a lot of money to this girl.
I'd love to be making 174,000.
Same with that healthcare. Absolutely. Give it to me 3 times on Sunday. I will take it, because most people aren't doing that. And he's, advocating for borrowing stocks. And I made a video. I was like, eat more avocado, less avocado toast. Like, that's what you told my generation to do. So why aren't you doing the same thing?
There
And,
you go.
you know, I also told him to release the Epstein files, but like, and that we would talk. But, you know, that is, I mean, it speaks to a greater issue is these representatives are so disconnected from our districts. They don't know what it's like. My opponent is Scott Desjardins. And most people either know what he did and they're like, never again, or they don't know and they just vote for him because he's a Republican. And, you know, for those of you watching, Scott Desjardins has been in office for almost 14 years now. By the end of this term, he'll be in there 14 years. He is most famously known for pulling a gun on his wife and forcing her to get an abortion, as well as 2 other partners outside of marriage. Were
not a pro-life candidate.
No, not at all. But he says he's pro-life. He said that God forgave him. And I was like, I don't believe you. And then he, you know, he's a Freedom Caucus member. He is a MAGA Republican. The only difference between him and Marjorie Taylor Greene is he's not outspoken. He's not loud. And he's been caught in closed door sessions saying if he speaks to constituents, he loses votes. So he just doesn't come to our district. He doesn't talk to us. He won't answer the phones. He hasn't had a town hall since 2013. And that was his first and last town hall. Like, that says so much about him. Like, how can you, we're no different. For those of you watching, I believe that representatives are no different than your local barista. We're there to serve. We're there to make sure that it is done right. And yeah, it's a little bit more complicated than that, but we should have the same mindset. And probably the same paycheck with the way that Congress is acting right now.
You know, I would get so frustrated when I was campaigning because I would talk to people and they're like, man, Vic, I really like you. And I really like your ideas and what you're running on. But I'm a Republican. And that was the end of the conversation. But I think this, I'm sure you got a lot of that too. But this time, this year or next year, this campaign cycle, how's that? I think is going to be much different because these Republicans, holy crap, spineless. I mean, I couldn't imagine that many sycophants being in Congress. I could never imagine our U.S. House of Representatives saying, Mr. President, would you please take our power? That's essentially what they're doing.
Yeah. And they don't, and they want it. They want them to take the power because they're raking in all that money on the back end. And I can almost promise you, none of those people, if they see it going sideways in 26, they're gonna head out because they don't want to be held accountable.
So how do you find volunteers?
Volunteers. And one thing my advice, if you want to volunteer, I'd rather have you knocking doors if that's for your past candidates running in my district.
Favorite part of campaign.
And he loves me. Like, we have a great rapport. I love his coffee. Like, it's really good. And yeah, he was like, host an event here. I don't care. And I was like, you're saying yes? Who are you? And it's fun like that. So I really do try to get in my communities, and especially with small businesses, because you know, my parents did small business throughout their lives. And
that example that you just gave is another thing that I really hope people will realize is that the picture is that we are so divided that if that scenario you just told us about, if that happened in TV, you would go into that coffee shop and he would say, get out, right? Yeah. But in the real world, Democrats and Republicans can talk to each other as long as they don't have the camera sitting there and as long as they don't have their puppet masters telling them how to behave. Regular people are involved because regular people are voting, and regular people want to hear from everybody.
Mm-hmm. And I tell people all the time, they're like, what, aren't you afraid going out? I've only been yelled at one time in my face, and I scared him away. I said, oh, I'll pray for you at the end of it. And he said, I don't want your evil liberal prayers.
Hey, we got a question for you.
Yeah.
Underhill says, what do you propose to do about the rich using tax loopholes or lobbying to avoid taxation?
Fix it. I mean, I don't corporations and billionaires and millionaires need to pay their fair share. I would love to see it go back to like the 90%, but like I know that we're never going to go there. So I want to tax them and I want to remove loopholes, because if they take care of their employees, what they'll notice is they perform better. And if we take care of everyone as a society, it makes for better experiences. I mean, I don't think that's radical to want to make sure that your employees have a good, healthy, paycheck and are able to spend that paycheck accordingly, as well as you should pay your fair share. If you're not paying your fair share, then you're not contributing to your community, and that's not good.
Oh, I thought there was another one. I just got new glasses like last Saturday, and I'm still trying to adjust. I have to move my head all kinds of funny ways.
When I got it's like every time I get a new keyboard, I have to relearn how to type because it's new. And and a new setup. My setup's very interesting because I work remotely. So I have my monitor, which is a TV, because monitors are actually more expensive. So it was easier to get a cheap TV. And then I have my laptop, and I have all my setup from like, because I do TikToks and, I do TikTok lives with some of my pals, and
So one of the things, I've got a video dropping either Monday or Tuesday, I'm not sure. And I'm telling people, get the candidates on the record for these questions.
Yeah.
And I'm urging people to actually do that as much as possible. But anyway, I don't want to do the whole video right now. But I'm going to do what I'm advocating. Yeah. And I'm going to ask you some questions. Ukraine.
We need to support them. Russia's abusing them. Period. End of story.
ICE.
Unacceptable. Gestapo. Get rid of it. We can revamp our immigration system, and which is not perfect by any means, and we can keep our borders safe. When I hear people talk about border safety, specifically Republicans, all I hear is they want safety. And in 2026, I'm running on safety, affordability, freedom, and equity. And I believe in safety. I don't want open borders. I think that is not something that we don't need. I do want to see a path to citizenship that doesn't take 7 years and that doesn't cost immigrants $30,000. We have people here who want to be here. And I think back to being a melting pot. We all grew up, at least I remember in the early 90s and early 2000s being told the melting pot. And I want to be the kind of country that people want to come to. And I do think that we should also help where we can so that people can stay in their home countries if they want to. But I don't mind that they're here. I love diversity.
I'm listening. I know I'm looking down at my phone while you're talking, but it's because I'm looking for the questions that I downloaded to my phone, because I know I had some good ones in there.
I feel like you did have some good ones. We went over some stuff in your email, and I was like, Vic's going to come with the real questions.
Healthcare. What do you think we need to do? What's wrong with our healthcare system, and what do we need to do to make it better?
We need universal healthcare. I think when it comes to healthcare, people always assume that universal healthcare means that they're going to pay more, when realistically you're not. And it's not a perfect system by any means, and it would be growing pains. But I do think that we need to have that, because I want to see people taken care of. I also want to take the pressure off of corporations, because I don't feel like they're going to get the best bang for their buck, which doesn't always mean that their employees are getting the best healthcare that they need. And I know that if you treat things early and you're able to go to the doctor, you don't have to worry about that massive medically to seek treatment early. So I think that's something we need, and we need to work on. And if people are worried about hospital wait times, the last time I went to a U.S. hospital, I waited like 4 or 5 hours to be seen, and it was for one of my kids. Like that's a long time. And I went to England recently, and I was in and out of the children's hospital in an hour. And even as a child, I never got in and out of a children's hospital in less than an hour. It was almost always a 4 to 5 hour wait.
I actually did the math the other day. I was looking at my pay stub. I pay just under like $892, just under $900 every 2 weeks.
Yep.
50 or 26 weeks a year. That's what I pay for healthcare. And that's before deductibles and copays.
Yeah.
So I did the math, and it's like, let's see, all of my Social Security tax, my Social Security, my federal income tax, all that stuff comes to around 10% of my paycheck is all. But my health insurance, along with my disability, vision, dental, and all that stuff, is 38%. So I'm like, hey, you know what? If the government would just take 25% of my check and give me health insurance, then I would still have 13% more that I didn't have before.
Yeah.
So please.
If corporations played their fair share, we would have better we'd have more money available to us. But instead, they are not paying their fair share, and they're getting massive bonuses at the end of the year that they don't pay taxes on.
Oh, Andriel has another question.
Mm-hmm.
I don't understand the question. She said she was against tax loopholes, so I'm asking where she thinks she stands.
Oh, I think we should get rid of tax loopholes. Yeah.
Can you see the comments now?
I haven't looked at them yet.
Oh, okay.
I'll look.
Nick says you're a progressive.
I am. Yeah.
Are you a Bernie type progressive? Bernie AOC progressive?
I feel like yeah, I'm Bernie AOC type. Bernie is a Democratic socialist. And so fun fact, I actually do a lot of political content, especially before I ran for office, where I talk about political spectrum.
You're buffering bad right now.
Is it better now? Better?
Hello?
Worse? Can you hear me?
I see pixels and I hear nothing now.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. This
Okay.
is not a Verizon commercial.
Oh, no.
That was AT&T. Anyway.
Yeah. Let me see if I can fix it.
Okay. You were saying that Bernie's a Democratic socialist?
Yeah. And so something fun that I did prior to running for office is I talk about the political spectrum and show people where they stand on the political spectrum so that they better understand where I fall. And even, candidates like Bernie Sanders, AOC. So yes, I am a
you're
progressive.
unintelligible now. Darn it.
Oh no.
Is it your internet or mine?
I don't know. Chat, am I intelligible to you? Yes, no, maybe so.
Let's see. Streaming. I'm checking my internet right now. See if it's me. Start. Oh, it's not me.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh, better, worse. Oh, better, worse.
No better. You're frozen right now. Tell everybody else in the house to get off the internet.
Okay. 1 second.
While we're waiting for Victoria, I'm going to answer Underhill's question about, do you identify as a leftist or as a traditional Democrat? And you know what? I really hate that term leftist, and I hate what people are doing with it, because depending on who you talk to, on one hand, a leftist is one of these people who are on the far left and are eating their own. And by that, I mean they will go out and attack other Democrats instead of just advocating for the things that they believe in. It's like, you don't believe enough in what I believe in, so I'm going to hurt you instead of teaming up with you and going after the Republicans who are trying to kill democracy. So when people talk about leftists, we need to get rid of the leftists or whatever. That drives me nuts. because that we're just playing into their game. Hey, you're very back. And a traditional Democrat, I don't know what you mean by that. I'm an FDR Democrat, 100%.
I think they're asking if I'm a status quo Democrat. I'm not. Because here's like, I'm not like, I know that there's a lot of like words, like I saw leftists in there. I don't consider myself a leftist. I know a Republican would probably call me that, but I'm not. Because I know actual like leftist and communists, and I'm like, no, I sound conservative compared to them. I'm a progressive. I believe in working class values. I believe in supporting and uplifting working class people, and that people should pay their fair share, whether they're a corporation, a millionaire or billionaire, or if they're just standard old working class like me. I want to make sure that people are taken care of if they need it, because I believe that we should uplift our communities.
Do you think we should expand the Supreme Court?
Yes, I do think we should do that.
I was reading something today, and the 13 federal judicial districts were created at the very beginnings of our country. It's like right after the Constitution was ratified, one of the first things they did was create the judicial districts. There's 13 of them. But we've never had enough judges for all 13 districts. We've never had enough Supreme Court justices for all 13 districts. So, and the Supreme Court is supposed to not necessarily represent America like a congressman or a senator, but they are supposed to be representative of the American values. And I think it's a big stretch to say that that's what the Supreme Court does.
Yeah, big stretch. Big stretch. And I think that it's changed since the Constitution was written, and we signed the Declaration of Independence, and things that wouldn't have affected us back then are affecting us now. I think we should have an age limit or a term limit on it, because it's important that we make sure that the Supreme Court represents us and doesn't look like the majority of voting citizens.
Jay wants to know what your posture is on energy efficiency / renewables and tax breaks for installing them.
I think we should do it. And I don't think we should give tax breaks to the corporations for doing it. I think we should give tax breaks and incentives for individuals to have it. Because I think most people want to see things like solar panels on their homes. They want to be able to afford them, but it's out of reach. And instead of giving the tax break to the corporation or the builder, I think we should incentivize them, but I don't think that we should give them the tax breaks. I think that should go to the individuals who want to use that to renovate and make it so. And it doesn't have to be solar panels. You could just get, have money so that you can do renovations on your house so that you can make it more livable. I live in a house that was built in the 1930s. I know all about making it more eco-friendly.
I think if it were up to me, we would just start by ending the fossil fuel subsidies that are older than your house.
Yep.
So that would put us on a great an even playing field with renewables, and renewables being cheaper. I think that would go a long way. Graham wants to know if you think people on Medicaid should work for their benefits.
No, I don't think the qualifier should be working. Realistically, most people on Medicaid and Medicare are working, and they just need additional help because they don't make that. And I don't think we should punish people like when they're struggling or when they need additional services. I think that, we should lift them up and help them and give them every tool that they can. If they want to work, make it so they can. But if they can't, I'm not going to punish them because of something that's happened that's either out of their control or in their control, whatever it happens to be. I feel like we should lead with compassion.
I don't want to say too much about where I work because there's a maggot at work that is trying to get me out of my job. But I can tell you that every day I see people who are on Medicaid. And the thing is, people listen to the politicians and they think that that Medicaid is just able-bodied, healthy people who were gaming the system, and that's why they're on Medicaid, because they don't want to work. Very rarely do I see somebody that is on Medicaid who doesn't have to be. And a lot of the people, a tremendous number of the people I see, are retired people on Social Security, and Medicaid is paying their Medicare premiums. Now, I wish we would hear the Democrats talk more about that side of the picture instead of just saying, oh, them Republicans are meanies.
Yeah, no, I mean, we need to talk about it. I think the thing that Democrats need to do, and we need to do, is we need to punch back at this. And I say punch back, but like, we need to speak out and speak up, because there are that Medicaid so that they can get their health care. And you're retired.
You're quite a bit younger than me. The investment banking had to be separate from yours and my personal banking, that they couldn't intermix. So if you go downtown to First National Bank, they can't take your funds and invest them into a hedge fund on Wall Street, yeah. Right? And I want to say in the 80s is when, and I could be wrong, so don't come at me in the comments and tell me I'm an idiot, but we got rid of Glass-Steagall. And since that,
a lot of things.
Yeah. And one of the things I'm hoping to hear from candidates over the coming year is that they're going to go after things like that. They're going to reinstate things like that. And we're going to start going after the monopolies, because that's a huge part of the problem too.
No, I want to do those things. Like, I think that it is important that we look at these laws that were in place, that were there to protect working class people, to protect us, and put them back in place. I even want to see the fairness doctrine come back and be modernized for what we are seeing on, these entertainment networks that call themselves news. Because I believe that your news agency shouldn't be there to hype you up. The 24-hour news cycle is unhealthy for everyone. And it's unhealthy for us. And I think that we need to really bring it back down a level and make it much more even kill, because politics should be boring. Like, it should be boring. It should not be like this every day. And your life shouldn't feel like chaotic. We should not wake up every single day being like, I just want to be in precedented times. I'm so tired of being in unprecedented times.
I'm going to put this up in front of our face again just for a minute so people can see it, just in case they're wondering where they can go. And by the way, oh man, my logo's in the way. There.
Okay.
That's not what her website looks like, because I put the little circle with the arrow right there, just, to kind of hint. Anyway.
Yeah. If you guys want to go there, you get a handwritten thank you note. Vic knows.
That's right. I've got two of them. I've got two of them
writing
on my keepsake shelf in there.
I love it. You're not the only person who's done that. I have so many followers that I've met on TikTok that have kept my cards, and they're like, literally, some of them are framed. I get pictures, and I love seeing that. And I've finally reached the level of getting gifts in the mail, and it literally melts my heart every single time.
Now, Tennessee, first thing I always think of when I hear Tennessee, one, Fort Campbell Valley Authority. For whatever reason, FDR and all that stuff. To the question, public utilities are privately owned or
crazy, and it's really hard. Yeah, work. And we don't keep it super something that I really know the most about. But yes, I think that it needs to stop being privatized, because I think we see a lot of issues, and there's not a lot of upkeep.
I just mentioned that I was at Fort Campbell, the greatest military base out of all of them.
Did you do any research about me?
No, I didn't. Not on that respect.
So I graduated from Austin P. So I lived in Clarksville.
I did read that, and I wanted to tell you that you and I are almost alumni. Because when I was at Fort Campbell, I took some classes from Austin P on base. So
Yes, I
there you
love that
have it.
so much.
Anyway, what were you going to say?
No, I was just gonna say that when I think of Tennessee, I think of like Fort Campbell. I think of Nashville and Music City. I live in whiskey country, so Jack Daniels is not far from me. Um, George Dickel is in my district. Uncle Nearest is in my district. Pritchard's is in my district. So I live in a rich cultured area with some amazing history and some very nice Tennessee whiskey and bourbon.
There you go. When it comes to the military and the veterans, when I was running, what I was telling people was I will never vote to authorize military force unless we also vote to ensure that we spend an equal amount of money or however much is necessary for the veterans who fight in whatever it is that we're authorizing. And now we're seeing veterans being kicked to the curb. So talk about where you're at with that.
Well, I have one of my best friends that I met on TikTok is a Marine, and he's a vet. His name is Matt. He goes by USMC Angry Veteran. That's kind of really
I know him.
Kind of gave me my start. We actually know a lot of people like Santana and whatnot, but he is that really helped me understand military life. Like living in Clarksville, I got very familiar with Army, like the Army lifestyle, because a lot of my friends were either, their parents were Army or they were married and, their husbands were stationed on the base. And so I learned a lot about that. And I don't think we take good enough care of our veterans. I think we need to make sure to go to war. I don't think so.
It was like the biggest country bar in town at the time.
It was my first time ever on a military base.
So one of the things I remember from there when I was there is the just amazing fishing. We would go fishing south of Fort Campbell somewhere on a river and get the most fantastic barbecue sandwiches on the way. But when I think about the beautiful parts of Tennessee, and I think about what the Republicans and the president is doing to the EPA and environmental regulations and all that stuff, where's your opponent on all that?
He doesn't care. I mean, he as far as I know, he doesn't really comment on it. And he says, I mean, we even have state senators who will tell you that it's not going to affect us, that the federal funding or the federal regulations aren't going to affect us. And they just don't care. I don't know. When you said that, I was thinking about how people used to refer to the Cumberland River that went through Clarksville and down through as the Scumberland. Like that was something that people were, even though it was clean now, people didn't want to go swimming in it because they remembered when you could smell it. They remembered when there wasn't regulation and people were just dumping things in the river. So like the idea that we're not going to take care of the one earth that we have is really sad. Like, I'm not asking you to give up everything, but I do think we should take care of where we live. And I don't think my opponent cares because he doesn't really live here. He lives in DC.
There you go. Let's see. I've actually got I'm going to be doing a big video. I got 30 questions for this video that I'm going to be asking people to ask their politicians. I'm not going to go through all of them. That'd take us all night. Let's see. What do you think? The way it's listed in the piece that I'm going to do is, will you offer? Have you seen Nick's Stalking the Capitol, where you open it up and it says, "Is your congressman a piece of?" And then he grades them.
It sounds familiar. That sounds familiar.
Yeah. And he has a grading system depending on how much corporate money they get and small donors, et cetera. Well, I told him I was going to do this. I said, "Nick, can I steal your idea?" And it's going to be, "Is your candidate a piece of?" And I'm going to encourage people to send this questionnaire out. So you probably will get one.
Oh, I love this for me.
And then when they respond, if they send them to me, and I haven't worked out all the logistics yet, but I'm going to grade the ones that I get back. So these questions are from that.
I'm an overachiever, so I'm over here median, and specifically in my county, the median income is like 40,000, I think is. But yeah, no, we need to raise the minimum wage. People need to be able. You should not have to, like, what is it? You work to, not work to live, but live to work. Like however that phrase falls out. I want you to be able to enjoy your life. Your life shouldn't just be about clocking in and clocking out and living paycheck to paycheck.
Yeah. You don't want to live to work. You want to work to live.
That's
what you were looking for. How do you feel about voucher schools getting tax dollars, religion in school curriculum?
Nope. Unacceptable. And I'm going to say, we already have school choice. The argument is school choice, that you need school choice. You have school choice. You can homeschool your children. You can send your children to private school, but no private school who will not take oversight for curriculum should be allowed to get public dollars. If the idea is you want to have the education that reflects your values, your, beliefs, etc., tax dollars should not go into that, because tax dollars are for the public. And I believe that tax dollars should be used for the community, not for private education.
Recognizing that my opinion on this is, I think, in the minority, I'm going to push back on that, on something you just said. School choice. It's my personal opinion that one of the worst things that's happened to the American public education system is school choice.
Are you advocating like Sweden does, where you're not allowed to have private schools?
That wouldn't break my heart. But what I'm where I'm going is, when I was a kid, it's like, you live in these boundary lines. Okay, this is your school. You go to that school. And if the community in that boundary lines wanted that school to be good, then they got involved in that school. But then we came along with, it started in Colorado with every year, every election, ballot measures for vouchers. And then people like Michael Bennett said, oh, let's compromise and do school choice. And then all of a sudden, you could pick any school in your county. You don't necessarily get a bus ride. You might have to drive yourself, but school choice, you get to go to whatever school you want. And then Johnny is being a little shit in school, and the school's calling the parents. And instead of, like, when I came home, said, Dad, Mr. Martinez is picking on me, Dad said, well, what did you do wrong? It wasn't, I'm going to go give Mr. Martinez what for? He said, what did I do wrong? But now with school choice, it's, okay, if the school's going to bother me when I'm trying to watch Days of Our Lives, then I'm just going to take him and put him in a different school. And nobody is investing, the communities are not investing in their community schools. And that is such an important thing for, I believe, an American society. So, no, I hate school choice.
Yeah, and I mean, and when I say school choice, I'm not talking about driving and, or to another school that has maybe a better, rate.
Better football team, so I'll send Johnny over there.
Yeah, and what happens is you starve out a school that could be performing well. Hi, Molly. Could be performing well, but isn't, because it's not because it can't. It's because it's being, if Republicans want to ruin something, they just defund it over time and starve it out. And that's what they're doing with public education. And I think we should overfund public education. I'm seeing some familiar names in our comments, so I got to give some shout outs. Obi Mom Kenobi. Hi, Molly. I've seen those names in my video comments, and I think some of them on my stream last night. I did a practice stream last night, which is why it was so frustrating when we started and I couldn't hear you. It's like, but I set up last night to make sure it would work. Everything. I did the whole thing and it didn't work. Look, I do that so much with campaigning. I have a whole warm up I have to do so that I can get ready to be people facing. And sometimes you'll see me have to in the mornings where I'm on a TikTok live, I get called in and my brain is just not in gear. And then you'll watch me just shift right into gear and I'll be like, okay, I got it. I'm good. I know where I'm at.
And by the way, Graham, who was asking about the school vouchers and all that, kudos to you, because that's one of my 30 questions. I don't know how much time you have. I can go all night. So
whatever you want to do. I'm just excited that you reached out and you wanted to do this. And, like, I admire what you're doing. We have so many mutual friends. It's like, I know some of them, and I don't know, like, I know some of them because we've been online, and it's just, I think what you're doing is really important because it's giving voices to candidates, because, people here might never have taught me on TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or Blue Sky or Substack, but they've seen me here now and they get to hear me and they really like it, or maybe they want to vet me out a little bit. Definitely do that. I've got 3 years worth of content. I'm a little fiery sometimes, but I encourage you to do that. You should investigate who your representatives are. And, I don't think we need to be perfect, because I am not perfect. But wait.
Are you going to bust my bubble? I thought you were the perfect candidate. Come on.
I mean, I'm your perfect candidate.
Okay, then. Okay.
I think that there's this mindset. We see it a lot with Democrats, where if we set the bar so high, and if our candidate falls one cog underneath, we're like, done, I'm not doing it anymore. And, that's a really hard line, like thing to hold when the Republicans set it on the floor and they give it a hug. So, like, I think that we should view voting like transportation. It's public transportation. You're not buying a house with a white picket fence. You're just hopping on the bus that you think is going in the right direction. You can always hop on the other bus coming back the right direction if you're feeling like this is too far. You
did a video on that, didn't you?
Mm-hmm.
I saw that video.
Yeah. And because I started saying it, so many people have picked it up because they realize, they're like, oh yeah, you're right. Like that, it's just public transportation. You're not buying a house. I don't want you to buy a house. I don't want you to you don't even have to buy a t-shirt. I just want you to feel empowered to vote and understand your local government, your state government, and your federal government. And I want you to feel confident that when you go to the polls, that the candidate there represents you and doesn't represent corporate interest, doesn't represent someone, someone's like weird ideology. I want them to represent you, and they should speak to that. And if they're not answering questions, then they're probably not the right candidate, because I've already said it. I was like, I need to do more research on that. Why can't you say that? If you don't know, answer the question.
I've always said that if you and a candidate agree 100% with each other, one of you is a liar.
Yeah.
I mean, it's that simple to me.
Yeah. I was like, I'm not going to be everyone's cup of tea, but you know what? That's okay. But you want someone who represents you, and that's something that I've done and will continue to do. Win, lose, or whatever. I'm going to be representing. I'm going to be speaking out. I'm going to speak out against it, even if it's not the fun thing to do, or even if I'm alone. I've always been that person, and I believe that that's the right way to be, because people will respect that. And I want to be the kind of candidate that people can respect, because character matters.
Do you think there's a federal solution to gerrymandering?
Yes, I do. I think that getting rid of the Electoral College is the first start to that, because the Electoral College really, I feel like, sets a lot of people's teeth on edge, because it doesn't properly represent the public. I've heard a lot about ranked choice voting here recently, but I think it should be popularity. And I don't think that we should be able to gerrymander districts so that you can win as a Republican. I think that it should be, fair. And if we're going to gerrymander, then not be, be open about that. Because a lot of voters just feel like their choice doesn't matter. So why bother? Why bother voting?
Okay, where is my next one? Let's see, we've actually covered a great number of my 30 questions.
I love it. Are you gonna make a video with me?
This is a softball.
Okay.
Should we codify Roe v. Wade?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, we're talking
I'm a
about
mom.
litmus tests for candidates,
Yeah.
and that is one. I mean, Henry Cuellar in Texas has always been getting the Democrats, Chuck Schumer supporting him 100%, wouldn't stand for any Democrat to try and primary him. But Henry Cuellar was with the Republicans on the border. He's with the Republicans on Roe v. Wade. He's with Republicans on so many things. And I'm like, dude, if you're going to play on their team, wear their jersey.
Exactly. Yeah. I get that joke a lot when people are like, why don't you just run as a Republican? I would never be able, one, I can't afford it because you have to pay money to run a Republican ticket. And that's not how my bank account works. But also the other part of that too is like, that's not who I am. It's like, hi, this is one of my foster babies. This is the mama who had 6 babies.
I'm moving my head like it's going to help me see it.
There she is. This is Mamacita, which is little mama in Spanish. Which was really fitting because I didn't know what I wanted to name her, but she was a little mama because she's still a kitten, and she had 6 babies. So I've still got one of her babies. The others I've moved on. Anyway, but I think that we need candidates who you can look at, you can say, I know pretty much where they stand on most issues, especially at a federal level. At a state level, it's a character thing at that point. You want to make sure that they're like, the vibe is right. But yeah, I think it's going to be it's going to be interesting in 2026, especially when it comes to this type of mindset when it comes to voting.
Let's suppose, and I really think unless the Democrats try even harder than they usually do to screw it up, I really do believe that the Democrats are going to take the House and possibly the Senate with very big numbers. Let's suppose that happens. What kind of things outside of the obvious policy solutions? I mean, in normal times, I'm the guy that's saying we need to address healthcare. We need to address the minimum wage. But these aren't normal times. So what should the House be focusing on if you get elected to the House and the House does switch to the Democrats?
That's a really tough question because it's like there's so much going on and you only have 2 years, and it's a little less than 2 years when it's all said and done because you have to do orientation and do all those things. So like, I don't want to make any blatant promises because healthcare is definitely at the top of my list. And I think I would start with codifying Roe, but then layer that with mandatory policies. I want to see parental leave across the board. I want to see 30 PTO days. I know that I think Bernie Sanders runs on 15 or something, but I want 30 along with holidays because one, no matter how your family looks, you deserve time off that is paid so that you can be you, and you shouldn't be punished for being you, and your sick time should not come out of your PTO, period. End of story. And I think that we can layer that because, the Republicans complain all the time about the birth rate. They're like, it's falling. Why aren't people having children? It's like, well, they're not having children because they don't have time off. They don't have child care. They don't have healthy child care. They don't have, Roe, which actually just put a protection in place. And it allowed people to, if they got to, they didn't want it, that's their choice. It allowed that choice. It allowed doctors freedom to practice their profession that they went to school for. They understand the bodies. They understand how the bodies work, and they understand what is attainable. Other things that I would like to see, I think that we're going to have to address education first and foremost. This movement and what's going on in our government didn't start in 2016 when Trump was elected. It didn't start in 2016. This is Olive. And it didn't start this movement has started years ago. And I think that if people are more educated on how their government works, and if politics becomes something that you could talk about at the dining room table, and you could talk about the issues at the dining room table, it is going to be easier to vote in politicians that actually represent you, you know, because I think politicians get a bad rep and they deserve it because we're shady. And, you know, they're not representing you. The rule is that they're not representing you. The exception is having someone who's speaking out. And we need more people who speak out and speak up and vote accordingly.
And I would add, speak up and do something afterwards, not just send me a fundraising email.
Exactly. Oh my God, the fundraising emails that are my least favorite.
Yeah.
Yeah. We
So
need people to do that.
We're an hour 20 in, and I've got to try and edit this down to 20 or 30 minutes, maybe 40. So yeah. I'm going to give one last question. Okay. And then I'm going to give you the opportunity to say whatever you want for however long you want, and then we're going to wrap it up. So here's my last question for you. Without thinking necessarily of anybody that's out there right now, and if you've got somebody already, that's great. But tell me what your perfect Democratic presidential candidate would look like.
You know,
and I'm not talking about blonde hair and blue eyes. I'm talking about, you know.
Yeah, I want Tim Walz. I just adore him. He's not your status quo representative. And I adore him. I adore who he is. I love his policies and I love his he's the dude. And I think that in 2028, we don't need the fanfare. We need someone who will stand up for us and speak out about the things that matter. And I feel like he could do it. I know he won't be at the top of the ticket, so I know that I'm just setting myself up for sadness. But even if it's not him, I'm going to hold whoever the candidate for 2028 is, which sometimes people ask me if I will run because I will officially be old enough to run in 2028. That's a lot of pressure, guys.
I knew you were just a pup.
I am just a pup. I sometimes joke online and call myself millennial trash because I love owning that I'm a millennial. Like it's a wonderful time.
Well, somebody's got to be proud to be a millennial.
I know. I mean, like, look, we've lived in unprecedented times our entire lives. I'm gonna own that forever. I'm like, you know what? Cool.
Okay, for those of you who are watching, if anybody has any questions that they want to pop into the comments, and you're running out of an opportunity.
Yeah.
So
ask whatever you want to. Guys, if you can, please go to my website and donate tonight. I would so appreciate a donation. I will write you a handwritten thank you note. Go learn more about me. I have so much content online that you can do. It's Victoria4Tennessee.org or .com. You'll find both of them. We just revamped this website too, so I'm really excited about that. We've got some more fun stuff coming. You know, every dollar counts. I still work full time, so I do this in my off time, and it's a lot, but I want to do it because you deserve better representation, and I want to see that across the board.
Joyce De Silva, David Hogue, that's just one, get rid of the old, in with the new, and oh, I thought that was going to be a question. Okay. And yes, Joyce, for the record, I very much support David Hogue. It drives me nuts that Ken Martin decided to try and kick him to the curb when he should be embracing what that kid's trying to do.
He should. And, you know, what's not funny about that is I was a county chair, so I understand a little bit about bylaws, and I'm now a Tennessee State Executive Committee member. I was actually called. They had a lady who I'm friends with. She had to step down, and literally my name came up across the state, and I got several calls because they were like, "You're progressive. We want your voice in the state house. Like, we want your representation when it comes to this." And so I learned a little bit about bylaws. David Hogg wrote the bylaws, but I'm like, you guys can make an exception if everyone votes on it. you can say we're going to ignore it because
well, did he break the bylaws, or by holding the election the way they did break the bylaws?
Yeah, that's the $1 million question. I wasn't there. I know some people who were. I also I know that they got him. I think the thing that they got him for was the primary incumbent Democrats, and that's like in the bylaws as well.
No,
it was the other one.
If he was out there saying, I'm vice chair of the DNC and I'm supporting this primary candidate, that would be a violation of the bylaws. Right. But it's like, we got this clown down here who wants to run for state senate. And this guy is an ex-felon for attempted murder. He loves to beat women. And he's got a long, sordid history. It's been in the papers, the whole 9 yards. I'm not what's the word? Donald. Yeah, whatever. I'm not saying anything that isn't known to be true. And this guy is trying to tell me that since I'm the vice chair of my local party, I can't say anything against him. It's like, dude, when I became vice chair of the party, I did not leave my free speech rights at the door.
Yep.
So as the vice chair, I wholly endorse a vigorous primary race. As Citizen Vic, F this guy. He can take a flying leap at a rolling donut. He will not get my vote, and I will do everything to make sure that nobody else votes for him too. So David Hogue, taking his private organization that he already had before he became DNC vice chair, he already had that organization, and it was already known what they wanted to do when he was elected to vice chair. So he can do that in his spare time. Do what?
I applied for his endorsement.
I hope you get it.
I don't know that I will, just because of my district and my race. And, I do think that 2026 is going to change the game. I am trying to, applying for endorsements is a huge part of campaigning. But I like the idea that I'm going to come out as like the underdog who takes it. And then I'm going to be, I'm not going to be beholden to anyone or worried about it. But I do appreciate what David Hogg's doing. I think it is important, and it speaks to young people and progressives in the country who are being asked to support Democratic candidates, and the Democratic Party is not supporting them. I think we should. I think we shouldn't be threatened by being progressive. We're not.
Some endorsements matter, and a lot of endorsements don't. If I were a candidate this year, I would want his endorsement because it would matter. But one of the problems with endorsements is we're only going to endorse you if we can help your campaign by giving you campaign funds. When I was running, I was like, keep your damn money. Just endorse me, right?
My experience was I got almost no money. I think I maybe got like $500 to $1,000, but I don't think I really didn't get anything. And it was just a name on a thing, which I was fine with because I'd rather my endorsement be on merit, not because you're going to help my campaign. Exactly.
What a concept, huh?
I know. Radical wild thoughts over here.
All right, folks. This is episode 9 of the Resistor Vic podcast. It's going to be published Tuesday morning. It's available on Substack. Go to Substack and follow Victoria. And follow me while you're at it. Yeah. And let's see. It's also on Spotify, Apple, YouTube, of course, because we're streaming on YouTube right now. So for everybody who came in and asked questions and gave comments and invoked a few thoughts in my brain, thank you very much. Last chance, Victoria, what do you have to say before we call it quits?
I appreciate you. Thank you, Vic, so much for having me on. I am so thrilled to be here. Guys, representation matters. Activism is a muscle. So pick something and get involved today. Even if it's small, joy is resistance. And stay hydrated and vote blue. And these are my 2 cute little babies. Thank you so much.
All right. I'm going to end the stream. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for giving me your time, folks.